Hello. So the previous video, for some reason, had no audio. I really don't know what happened there. Um, yeah, there's a button on these headphones that automatically turns off the audio, but I checked it just a minute ago, and it's clicked on. So, don't know. What I talked about then was I talked about tarot cards and about how I thought that they worked, which basically I don't. Um, I read tarot cards. Here is a deck that I own. This is the Cat Tarot. And this is one of several decks that I read. In fact, I did a reading for somebody earlier today. And I did a reading for myself as well. And okay, so if I don't believe it works, why bother? Well, it's still interesting to see how what might be called a completely outside, detached view of your life might make a comment on your life or what you might see from that perspective. What I mean by that is, the cards are, well, there's 78 cards, and they basically deal with 78 life situations. The major arcana are typically very large, abstract life events, and the minor arcana tend to deal with more particular events. But all of them have a certain kind of abstract to them. And there are some patterns, like, all of the twos are very much situations of having a choice between one or the other. All the fours tend to be about relaxation and rest and goodness. The nines are often very negative. The tens are a fulfillment and are very positive. The aces are, again, very positive. They're full of energy is the idea. Okay, so each card has its abstract meaning. But they're just 78 random cards. And, if you were to deal out all 78 cards, you'd have 78 factorial, as your number of possible combinations. And that's, I don't know what that number is, but it's big. And if you only do 10 cards, which is the usual spread that I use, is 10 cards, that's still 78 times 77 times 76, etc. And that's still a lot of possible cards. In fact, there is a very, very, very high probability that in doing a 10-card spread, there's never been two 10-card spreads ever that are exactly the same. And that's like not just what I've done, but what everybody's done ever throughout the history of tarot. Certainly, of the ones I've done, there's no reason to expect there would ever be a duplicate reading. Okay, so each reading is going to be relatively unique, particularly if you take into account the ways in which the reader, in this case me, reads not just the cards, but the situation of the querent, of the individual who asks a question. Like earlier today, I did just a 3-card reading, just took 3 cards to read for somebody whether or not they would be able to reunite with their family. And, well, this is the crazy thing. I know they can't mean anything, but the 3 cards that came up gave very, very clear and fairly focused perspective on how he should think about this question. Be objective, try to get out of his own emotional leanings, his own desires for what should and shouldn't happen, and look at it objectively. How he starts is important, that, he wants to start off correctly in the way that he approaches dealing with this issue. And the 3rd card basically said, be creative. And, and this is probably decent advice. Now, of course, I told him, that the cards don't mean anything, and that, to take it with a grain of salt. That's just, an external perspective. And he said, of course. I mean, but, the point here is, some people think that the cards have a whole lot of meaning, that somehow or another these 78 cards have some sort of magical properties, that there's spirits out there that you're contacting. Now, the whole spirits you're contacting thing, for certain people, that's a great positive thing. Oh, great, they're spirits that are guiding us. And for other people, if it's not their particular deity of choice or their particular pantheon of deities of choice, it is some kind of demonic force or some kind of negative thing. I don't think either is true. I think it's just 78 random cards, and we read into it what we want to read into it. I can't claim to know very much about what demons might be up to, but I find it hard to believe that they have time to spare messing around with a deck of cards when, believe me, we are perfectly capable of confusing ourselves and misleading ourselves without the help of any external spirits whatsoever. I mean, my goodness, just look at politics in the United States today. Whatever side you take, and I think there's one side that's clearly right, one side's clearly wrong, but no matter which side you take, the other side is clearly wrong. And, well, how could that possibly be? How can reasonably intelligent, educated, thoughtful people on two sides view something so radically different? Well, you know, the things that we actually know are much, much, much narrower than the things that we think we know, or the things that we're committed to without actual knowledge. And this is where, some aspects of language come in here, and interpretation, because, we talk about facts. Sure, I am in the United States. I am sitting in a Starbucks. It is, the date that it is. Which is, September 2nd, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, of course, I got to look that up because I don't know. Yeah, September 2nd. Monday, September 2nd. Okay. That's objective fact, right? There's not many people out there who are going to debate. If I say that's when and where that I am, and it is, there you go. But what do I really know about the world? What do I know about, say, I don't know, the population of Evansville? Couldn't tell you. That's where I am, Evansville, Indiana. What do I know about the population of Evansville? Couldn't tell you. Now I can look around the Starbucks, I can look around the mall, I can, drive around, I can look at statistics on the internet or something, but none of that really gets to the heart of what it is like to be in Evansville. And that is always going to be amorphous and less than objective. There's going to be a subjectivity there. So, when we deal with an issue like whether or not the speed limit should be raised, or, whether or not there should be nightclubs that stay open later, or whether or not they should allow alcohol sales on Sunday, or, any number of similar issues. Should they rezone this neighborhood for business? All of those things become very mired in subjective understandings of how reality works. Just like, if we do something that, liberals, for instance, really want to do something like, say, raise taxes on the rich. I think that's probably a good idea. I don't see any reason not to. However, it should be noted that the rich aren't just going to, oh, you raise my taxes, so I'm going to pay more. That's not how it works. We raise their taxes, they are going to move their money around and find new ways to hide it, new ways to avoid paying taxes. And, I've known a handful, not many, a handful of wealthy individuals, and my experience with them in taxes is they were willing to pay more to avoid paying taxes than the taxes would have cost them. They just had don't know what you want to call it exactly, but an animus against actually paying taxes. So, are the rich just going to pay taxes if you raise them? No, they won't. That's not how it works. So, maybe, objectively, raising taxes on the rich is a good idea. Maybe it will increase the income that the country has, and increase, and decrease some of the budget deficits that we've got. But will it solve all the problems? No, definitely not. Whatever numbers they've calculated ain't going to work, because the rich will find new ways to hide their money, etc. I mean, I don't know if I'm really quite making sense, but anyway. So getting back to tarot, there's a subjectivity in things. So is your life good or bad right now? Well, almost certainly a little of both. And that's exactly how tarot works, that some cards are good, some cards are bad, and the cards focus your attention on a good thing or a bad thing. And you see things in your life maybe from a different perspective. Is it magic? No. Is it confusing? Sometimes. Is it just us fooling ourselves? Almost certainly. Although, like anybody else who's done tarot, I have to tell you, I have seen some strange things with tarot. Okay, so, real briefly before I go here, this is a book by John Foss. He's the man who won the Pulitzer Prize, not the Pulitzer Prize, the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2023. I've had this book for a bit. I'm going to try reading it and give you my thoughts on it. So, I'm not really sure how it's going to go, but we'll see. Have a good day. And please, you know the drill. Like, comment, all those kind of things. Subscribe if you like what I'm doing, etc. Okay? Talk to you later.